any kind of a sport is kind of failure driven because we're never good at something right away. So as you're learning to become good at something, you're failing over and over and over again. But the key is that as an athlete, I knew that I was always going to somehow find a way to get good at this, find a way to, not come in dead last the next time, but go a little bit faster or handle that disappointing result a little bit better.
How do you define success and failure? You don't have to be a 2-time world champion athlete or even a Hall of Famer like Siri Lindley to truly ask yourself that question. Because when it all boils down to it, we're all mental athletes in some way or another. And our thoughts are like the wheel of that vehicle that is turning, right? But for Siri, it took a major mental shift to get her to that place of top athlete. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy. Yet she found a way. And during our conversation, she shares more about her journey, which includes coming out to her family, surviving and thriving after cancer, and how a big part of her reaching the finish line more than once in first place really meant asking herself some very important questions. Plus, Siri offers some great advice on what you can do right now in this moment to find your champion within. I love this conversation. And with her new book coming out, Finding a Way, Taking the Impossible and Making It Possible, you're going to have a chance to get a signed autograph copy before it even hits the shelves. And you can check the podcast notes to find out how you can enter that giveaway. And I have a big favor, a really big favor. This gal right here, she has a birthday coming up, and it's a pretty big one. So I'm looking for some sage advice from my over 50 club to share on the show. All you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/HIListically speaking and leave me a message about your greatest gift that you discovered once you turned 50. I want to hear from you. And it's not only me that can use this advice, it's anyone in that 50 and up club or even people just in midlife that might want to hear what it's like once we hit that beautiful mark in our lives. Speakpipe.com/HIListically speaking. But first, it is time to cross the finish line with Siri Lindley. Siri Lindley is in the house. Oh my gosh. This is
Hilary,
super duper exciting.
Forward to this. So looking forward to this. I adore you. I met you just once, but you are like my soul sister. I love you. So I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too, sister. This is amazing. I love connecting with people and you find that there's something that just aligns or calibrates so perfectly when you meet the right kind of people, and you are that person. So I'm glad we're on the same page. Siri, if those of you who are not familiar with this rock star woman, she is a 2-time world champion triathlete. She's a world champion coach. She's a Hall of Famer. I just saw your Tony Robbins talk. That was amazing. And there's so much about you that just resonates with me. You're so empowering and inspiring. And we're going to get into all of that today. I really just want to give you the space to share your story, share who you are, everything that is about you. So just let's go there. Let's go there. And I know you have a book coming out, and I want to start with that.
So Finding a Way, Taking the Impossible and Making It Possible is throughout my life, I've been faced with some seemingly impossible challenges. And throughout my life, I've found a way through those challenges. And it's come not without a lot of pain, not without a lot of failure and, all the stuff that we all encounter every single day in our lives. But I found the strategy on how we as human beings can do that. And it's going to be different for everyone because it includes things like, changing your story. What story are you living that is getting in the way of you having and living the life that you dream of living? What are those stories? And so through my book, there's a lot of storytelling, but I'm also asking the reader to do a deep dive into who they are, to do a deep dive into the times when they were struggling. What was their success formula? How did they get through that challenge? Because as we all in life are faced with challenges, we all have proof that we have overcome them before. We all have proof that we can stack in those times of great doubt to give us the belief to write a new story that is, I shall triumph. I shall find my way through this. And so this, to me, this book, it means everything to me. And it means everything because I'm no different to every single person listening to this podcast. I have suffered as you have. I have had the self-doubt. I have had the fear. I have had, those incredibly painful moments where I chose to move through those things, heal through those things, find a way through those things. And now I want to help guide you to find a way through your own stuff, to be your biggest advocate, to love yourself enough to take every thought that you have and redirect it so that it serves you and strengthens you rather than disempowers you and holds you back from everything that you want.
Beautiful. I mean, you speak like a coach, but you speak like an authentic coach that just wants those that they support to win. And you're used to that. I mean, you are so used to that, being a triathlete, like being out there. And I mean, that's so difficult on your body, training for triathlons. I've never done it. I just know others who have. And I know that it is so time consuming. And it's almost like, the book, The Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell talks about those 10,000 hours you have to put in to be the best of the best. And I see the difficulty and the determination to be at that level, which it's not just being a triathlete. I mean, you're a world champion triathlete and put so much time and attention into that. So embodying that mindset is so important to be at that level. So now you're using this in your everyday life. And I think that is where it is truly so inspiring to me that you're able to give back in a way when you're not that triathlete anymore,
And thank you, Hilary. And, I think anyone listening that's an athlete, you can relate to that any kind of a sport is kind of failure driven because we're never good at something right away. So as you're learning to become good at something, you're failing over and over and over again. But the key is that as an athlete, I knew that I was always going to somehow find a way to get good at this, find a way to, not come in dead last the next time, but go a little bit faster or handle that disappointing result a little bit better. So to me, I think, as a 23-year-old, I fell in love with triathlon and I had no background. I did not know how to swim. I had been a field hockey player, an ice hockey player, and a lacrosse player. And I fell in love with this sport because as I watched a friend doing one, it looked to me like everyone out there was pushing themselves beyond what they thought they could, what they could be, what they could do. And they were, in essence, finding themselves through this challenge of the swim and the bike and the run. And at the time, I was so low in my life. I had realized I was gay. I'd been rejected by my father, who was my everything. And I felt worthless. And I was desperate to not live in the space. And I talk about this in my book, like, you don't have to live this story that someone else is telling you. That, for example, for me at that time, because you're gay, you are unlovable. Because you are gay, you don't belong. And I couldn't afford to live the story that he was telling me. So I needed to, re-narrate my story to be something that could inspire me. And so that's where triathlon came in. I thought, you know what? This will be the vehicle through which I find a love for myself, a respect for myself, a worthiness from within. But I didn't know how to swim. So, my first race, I came in dead last. People were laughing at me because I made a total fool out of myself. But I'd never felt so alive in my entire life because I took a chance on me. And I believed that through this, I would become more. And so I think that knowing that you're going to fail and that athletic thing where you know you're going to fail, but you get back up, you find a better way of doing things, like that is so important for life. That is so important for business. And the key is, how do you define failure and success? And way back when I'm a triathlete and I suck and I'm coming in dead last, but my dream is to become the best in the world, I had to define failure as learning. I'm going to fail. Like if I want to succeed, I'm going to fail. And when I fail, that's when I learn. And when I learn, that's when I grow. And when I grow, that's when I become that person that one day will be the best in the world in this sport. And then success, when you're experiencing a lot of failure in the beginning of something, building a business or starting something new that you've never done, you need to be able to celebrate your wins no matter how small they are. And success for me became not winning a race or being the best or waiting until that ever happened, if it ever did, but instead saying, if I can just be a little bit better tomorrow, a little bit better, if it's physically better, emotionally better, mentally better, more supportive of myself, if I could just be a little bit better tomorrow, that's success. And so I made it so easy to experience success amidst all the failure. And as we all know, success builds upon success. So how you define success and failure are huge, depictors of what your future is going to look like. Make it easy to feel like you're succeeding and make it hard to feel like you're failing. Or even better, let's define failure as a necessary part of success, and let's learn to embrace it and know that that's how we become the person that will do or have what you dream of having.
Yeah, isn't there even in the acronym?
That was a long answer. I don't even remember.
No, I love it. And it's the first attempt in learning is fail, right? First attempt in learning, if you make it the acronym. But I totally resonate with what you're saying, because there are so many times we're hard on ourselves for every little thing. Even if you're not the athlete, you're the mental athlete first. Like you have to be this athlete first. You have to be in the right mindset. So there are folks out there that have tried something and have not succeeded. What's the lesson learned from that? What do you need to change or tweak just a little bit to make it better? Because you got this far, now you take it a different level. And when you talk about the narrative and creating the new narrative, you're totally talking my language, because it's so important to understand that the story that happened to you or happened in your life is part of a chapter that's over here. You've turned the page. It's so important to change the narrative and realize that you have a clean, fresh page, that you can take the experiences from what the chapters are that are prior, but take them into your present and then rewrite the narrative. And when you say that, it deeply resonates with me. And it's a reminder to self. I'm sitting here thinking of some things that I've doubted in my life, or I've failed at, or haven't completed. Because when we don't complete something, we're disappointing ourselves, which is worse than any other disappointment we have in the world, right? Other people, it stinks to be a disappointment to others, but the worst is when you're a disappointment to yourself,
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? We all need to remember that you get to go first in deciding what story you want to live in life and what you're capable of and what any single thing that happens to us will mean to us. Like, we have to remember that you get to go first in doing that. So a big part of my book is saying, what are the stories that you're living that were never yours in the first place? What story do you want to live in life? Do you want your life to be a tragedy, which I was creating at a younger age? Or do you want to have your life be one of victory, where you're the victor, not the victim? And in that, you are making a decision, a commitment to you that I will no longer be the victim. My story is that I am the victor. And so how do I show up as a victor in my life? What decisions do I make? What would future me, the one that is the victor of her life, what would she be focusing on? What would her beliefs be? What actions would she be taking every single day? And at first, if you've been living the story of the victim for a long time, or whatever story it is that is not serving you, at first re-narrating it to a story that you want to live may feel not real, and you may not believe it. But what has to happen is you role play it. You condition the new story. You show up as her or him and ask yourself. And so for me, just to give you an example, I suck. I'm 23 years old. I don't know how to swim. Came in dead last, but I want to be the best in the world in triathlon. So even though I say that, it feels so untruthful. In every moment, it's asking myself, what would she know? She would know that every time I show up and lean in, that's taking me one step closer to what I want. What would she do? She would get a coach. She would commit herself to training before work, at lunch hour, after work. She'd sleep well. She'd recover well. Like, I basically conditioned and role played what future me would do, the one that's gonna be the best in the world. And in that, you become that person, and it starts feeling more real because you are doing the things that that person would do.
You're living it. You're living it. And yeah, that's such a big part of it is that I feel that a lot of times people have these ideas of manifesting, like, I'm going to manifest that. But if you're not living it, or you don't already believe it's a possibility, or it's a knowing rather than a want, right? It's like, I know this exists for me. And that's when you start aligning with your inner guidance and your higher self, right? Because the self-doubt and the negative things come into the brain so much easier than the positive.
Yeah. And Hilary, I mean, think about this, as a baby that's starting to crawl. And then the baby starts to walk, but he falls over, he hits his head, he bangs his knee, he's falling all over the place. Nobody sits around and says, oh, forget it. Like, he's never going to be a walker. They don't give up on him. But what happens to us as adults is somehow we think that everything we embark upon, we should be good at. Like, we should just be good at it before we even start. But just like that baby, every single thing that you take on in life, that you dream of taking on, even if it seems impossible or you feel that you can't, all you have to do is start crawling, start walking. When you fall over and bang your knee, just wipe it off, get back up again, try again. This is the requirement. You can't, unless there's some superhuman person that can just do something the first time and be amazing at it, doesn't really happen that way. No. So be okay with that. Be okay with those initial stumbles that are a part of the problem.
When you said before about the falling and the failing, it made me think, my mom, I have a whole bunch of them up on my desk, but remember the Weeble Wobbles? So my mom, I have a bunch of them. I have the antique ones, the vintage ones, and it's just such a reminder to me, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So we're going to wobble in life, but we're going to get back up, right? We're going to get back up. We're just conditioned to do that. And for you, I mean, I think it's a very difficult thing that it's such a small group of people that get to the level that you're at. And for those who are athletes out there, and you've already shared some really inspiring words, but some people might not be able to finish a triathlon. Some people might not be able to finish the race or finish a project. What would you say to those folks out there, whether they're athletes or not, how to go forward when their body is just at exhaustion or their brain is at exhaustion and it's difficult to finish, because that's when you become the disappointment to yourself? How do you go forward with that?
Well, I need you to know that that was me too. I mean, the reason why I came in dead last in my first race is that I walked it. I had to stop. I had to rest. I did all these things. You have to start somewhere. And you have to be kind to yourself and celebrate the fact that you've shown up. You've shown up and you're taking that first step. There were many races I didn't even finish. And that's okay. So when we are thinking that it has to be perfect, I have to be able to finish my first race, I have to be able to get through the swim. I had swims where I panicked and I pulled out of the race because I was so scared. That's me too. So I see you. And I'm not going to let you off the hook, because if this is something that you want, all I'm asking is that you keep showing up, you keep leaning into the discomfort, and celebrate what little progress you make each time and have that success be what keeps you going. But here's the key, like, it has to be something that really matters to you. You know, it's very easy to just give up if things aren't going well, if you don't really care about whatever it is you're doing. For me, remember, you know, triathlon for me was going to be the way that I found a love for myself, that I found a worthiness from within. So like my why is what kept me getting up time after time and forging forward. So if this is something that whoever's listening says, yeah, I'd love to do that, but I just can't. I can't get through the swim. I can't get through the bike. One thing at a time. Every single day, I want you to take just one step forward in the direction of finishing this race. One step forward, whatever that is. And actually, my wife and I, we run this fitness group. It's called the Serious Squad. And I came up with this idea. It was during COVID, and everybody was kind of stuck at home. And actually, Melissa Etheridge, who's the greatest rock star of all time, had said, you know, I'm going on tour. This was in 2019, before COVID, but it ran into COVID. She said, I'm on tour. I don't have a lot of time to work out, but I want to be fit enough so I can hold my notes, you know, longer and longer. And my wife and I were there, and I said, perfect. Like, let me train you. And my wife said, yeah, it's only going to be an hour a day. And I said, no, stop. No, Melissa, all you need is 15 minutes a day. I'm going to create a program for you where you do 15 minutes a day, and it's how it's set up that's going to get you the result that you're looking for. So 15 minutes for all of us feels like, yeah, okay, you know, that's all right. Anyhow, long story short, it worked out amazingly for her, and she got us on her show, and we started talking about this thing that we just created. Now, the number one most important thing of this program is no matter how you feel on any given day, give me 1 minute. Put your shoes on, go out the door, and give me 1 minute. Just start the warm-up. Give me 1 minute. Because that consistency every single day is what is going to ultimately get you in a good rhythm. What typically ends up happening, you put your shoes on, you give me 1 minute, and it's like, oh, it's actually pretty nice out here. I'll keep going. So it's the showing up, it's the leaning in, and it is saying that every day I'm going to make it hurt a little bit more, or I'm going to get a little bit more uncomfortable. And for an example, when I was training and racing, you know, my last coach I had really pushed me. And he would give me these treadmill sessions. He'd want me to run at this speed that was just terrifying. And just like what you were saying, Hilary, I said, no, I can't do that. Like you can, but I can't do that. And so what I started doing is I would put it at that speed, and I do it for like 15 seconds one day. And I survived. So it's like, okay, I've got proof. I survived that. So the next day I do it for 30 seconds. Okay, wow, I did that. Next time, 45 seconds. Ultimately, after about 4 months, I was running 10 kilometers at that terrifying speed. And I tell you that story because all I want each and every one of you to do is take one little step closer to what you want every single day, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. As you step in a little bit more each day, suddenly you're going to find yourself where you never dreamed you could be.
Yeah, be comfortable in the uncomfortable. I love saying that. Like, find the comfort in the discomfort, because that's where change happens, right? And by the way, for those listening, this is for anything in life. This is not just if you want to be an athlete. We're all mental athletes, and you know, we're all coming from that mindset first. So whatever it is you want to achieve, I think, Siri, you're touching on the fact that whatever that one step is, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a new possibility, and just a new something, the newness is that uncomfortable step forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you can even think about it in relationships. You know, maybe you're some struggles in your relationship. Maybe the thing that you're going to lean into every day is, you know, having some kind of a conversation that's going to help bring you closer together. Or ask a question that might bring you closer together. And the next day, maybe you'll ask 2 questions, or you'll share 3 of your thoughts. It's this, like you said, Hilary, so beautifully, this applies to life and everything. It applies to self-love. Think about that. Like if you're not used to, and you and I, we know how to self-love, but you know, I've known people that are like, whoa, 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 like I don't do that. So it's a matter of every day, just, one day, just grab your hand and acknowledge yourself. Well, my hands actually feel real nice to hold. And then you can stop and that's it. But then the next day, hold your hand and maybe look in the mirror and say something nice to yourself. So it's just building your threshold that frees you to ultimately do it the way that you're yearning to.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it. Love everything you say, as I always do. And I just want to remind those who are listening right now, finding a way, taking the impossible and making it possible, because I'm possible, right? Impossible, I'm possible. Finding your way. And this book is going to be released in June, but we are going to get a signed copy from Miss Siri Lindley to give away here on Holistically Speaking. I'm so excited. She's going to give me a copy too. Psyched. And we're going to do a little giveaway. And I want you to follow. I'll have all the information on how to do the giveaway in the listen notes. So definitely take advantage of that, because this is the kind of literature you need in your hands. And I'm so excited. This isn't the first time you've authored a book. This isn't the first time you've put words on paper and bound them into a book, but this sounds like this is next level for you. So I'm really excited to share this with folks.
Thank you, Hilary. It's so incredibly important for me. As I wrote this book, I cried, I healed, it was so emotional. And I think part of it was that I was really making sense of how all the pain that I've been through, I can be almost grateful for it because it made me who I am today. And in that, I can share these messages and have you guide yourself by asking questions that are in the book to really find your way home to you and get inspired to want to, in every single moment, advocate for yourself, where you won't allow yourself to sit in thoughts that are not serving you, that you will not allow yourself to sit in suffering, because you will have the answer on how to get out of it. And I'm not saying deny the pain and don't go there or ignore it. I'm asking you to feel the pain, love yourself through it, but then it's a matter of saying what you would say to me if I was struggling. It's like, okay, Siri, you know what? Now it's time to focus on the things that we have, that we can do, that you love and want to create. And it's time to focus on what you have all the control over, because I want you to feel better.
Yeah.
So you're doing for yourself what you would do for a friend.
You got to turn it around, because you can't find the calm in the chaos. It just can't. You can't be in that mindset. And I love this. Also, you're inspiring me too, because I sat down and finally started writing my book, which I've been sitting on forever. And it's an it's an inspiration to hear this. Like, I love having authors on here, especially those who I really connect with, the person themselves, like yourself. And I would say there are a ton of people out there that are writing books now. And it's beautiful, because it's your therapy. It's the long-term journal that you're letting somebody into your space. What would be your advice for other fellow authors? We'll call them authors, because you're already an author if you're penning the book.
If you have something inside of you that can make a difference in another human being's life, it is your responsibility to write it down. It's your
responsibility. I love it. That's so true. I had a coach tell me once, and I've shared this before, but I just love that you're sharing that. When I was feeling kind of in my feelings, right? Feeling like, oh, this isn't working. Something's not working. Why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. I was told it would be more of a disservice for you not to do what you're doing because you're in your feelings, right, rather than the service that you're meant to provide. Right?
That's exactly right. And remember,
sticks with me.
I mean, I remember saying, if I can touch one life on a deep and profound level for the better, I will have lived a life well lived. And so for each and every one of you, you're writing this, because you have something to say, and don't question that. Because if it's coming out and it's coming down on the paper, you are being guided, you are being called to share your unique knowledge or perspective, because that, there is no doubt, will touch someone's life in a beautiful and profound way. And that is your responsibility. That is your responsibility. And I know, I mean, I feel like I am still here today because I was meant to write this book. And I'm hoping that in writing, you know, this book is very vulnerable. I leave nothing out. I take you into the darkest, but into, you know, the brightest lights. And from a few people that have read it already, what they've said is that they are in their own lives starting to open more freely. They're starting to share more. And in that sharing, they're connecting on a deeper level and they're having a greater impact. So you must go there. And remember, you know, it's like, yeah, I get so scared and nervous when I'm about to go speak on stage. Like, I seriously, my heart's pounding, I'm shaking.
That's what you have to haven.
And all yeah. And I just have to remind myself, Siri, but this isn't about you. Like, you want to be a gift. You want to be a blessing to this audience. What can I give to these beautiful people that is going to be a gift? And in that, so as you're writing your book, instead of thinking, is it good enough? Am I going to be good enough? Are people going to like it? No. Are you giving a gift? What is the gift in this chapter that you're handing over? That's the most important piece. And that will keep you in your center and out of your mind. It will keep you in your heart. It will see you putting magic down on paper. And that's key.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Listen, if anyone out there, and I imagine you are, if you're touched, moved, and inspired by this episode with Siri, please pay it forward. Pass it along to somebody who might need to hear these words. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that this is like free therapy. That's really what this podcast is. And I love doing this because it's like, I say it all the time that my guests are like a masterclass for me. You know, I learn and I just want to pay it forward and share it with those who are tuning in, whether they're watching on YouTube, whether they're listening on their podcast platform, whatever, just pay it forward, pass this along and leave a message, leave a note, and you're like, let me know. You know, I also have ways that you can get in touch with me through SpeakerPipe at HIListicallyspeaking.com. Leave an audio message of how you love this podcast with Siri. But before we end this, there's a couple things I do want to talk to you about. One of which is your love. Well, first of all, let's go back because you just said about speaking on the big stage. You just had a pretty monumental moment with Tony Robbins. How did that happen? And how was it?
Amazing. I'm actually going back this Sunday. So to speak at Unleash Power Within virtual. Tony Robbins has been my most profound mentor since I was 20 years old. He didn't know that, but through his cassette tapes and through his, you know, books, he really kind of lit the path for me. And his work really resonated with me and made such perfect sense that everything that I did, getting out of the darkest holes and pulling myself up, I have him to thank because of what I learned through him. And so he's been my mentor for 25 years or whatever it's been. And about 10 years ago, I was coaching my 4-time world champion athlete, Miranda Carfrae, at the World Championships. And this woman came up to me and said, "Oh, are you Rinny's coach? You know, I would love to interview Rinny for the Tony Robbins blog." And I'm like, Tony Robbins blog? Like, I nearly lost it. I'm like, that guy changed my life. I was like, I will make sure that she does it. So, and it was the day before the race. Rinny did not want to do it, but she did it for me. So she did this blog. The race went on and I felt so good about it. I was like, had this kind of outside contact to Tony Robbins. And then about 3 months later, I get this phone call. "Oh, Tony would love to get you on the Tony Robbins podcast." And I said, "Oh, you're looking for Miranda Carfrae, my athlete, Rinny." Yeah, she was in the blog. "Here, let me write down, you know, her phone number for you and her email." And they're like, no. Tony wants to interview you. And I nearly like passed out. I couldn't believe it. So I get on his podcast. Oh my God. I mean, we talked for like 2.5 hours. And it was an absolute dream come true. This podcast somehow, at the time, I was like, I don't even know how this happened, ended up being his most downloaded podcast ever at that point. But I'm just sitting here thinking, they want my athlete, not me. So basically went on to an event, started, going to every single live event. And one day he has an event in San Diego called Leadership Academy. And one of his speakers was unwell. And so he reached out and he said, Siri, can you take this 1 hour, 45-minute slot on stage at Leadership Academy? Now, I had never spoken on stage in my life, but you don't say no to Tony Robbins. I'm like, oh, I'd love to. That'd be amazing. And then I'm like, what have I done? Somehow, some way, and takes me back to what I just said a little while ago, Hilary, I thought he obviously thinks that I have a gift that I can share. I can be a blessing to this group. And this isn't about me and whether I look funny or I don't do it right. It's about me getting up there with the intention that I want to be a gift to these beautiful humans. And I did that. And since then, I've been speaking on a stage since 2016. And it's the ultimate privilege. It's the ultimate honor because his mission is so pure. It's so beautiful. It's so focused on helping people live their best lives and find their way home to like the beauty of who they are. And so to serve on this mission alongside him is just the ultimate privilege, the ultimate gift. And I strive to just do my part, the highest level, and continue to do this great work with him. Such a blessing.
You freaking inspire me so much. I can't even tell you. You really do.
You're so.
You do.
Well,
I love doing this.
The tables were turned last time. On my podcast, the tables were turned.
I am so grateful for that. I can just sit and talk to you for hours. I love that about doing this work. I really do. I've been in the broadcasting business for a long time, but when I switched to the podcast and really got into the health and wellness field and was able to amplify what I do through the messaging of podcasting and just public speaking, it's people like you that just make it so worthwhile to meet. And then those who the lives that we help change, So you're a gift. You truly are. You're the gift.
There's a lesson in what happened there. Like, it's not just a story of how I landed on this stage, but because some of you listening might get some opportunity where somebody thinks you can do something, but you're thinking, I can't. Like, in that, you must pay attention, become aware of the story you're telling in your mind, and do not let that get in the way of you taking the opportunity. Instead, that's exactly the moment where you have to tell yourself every reason why, yes, you are the right person for this, every reason why. And that's where you advocate for yourself and not say, oh, honey, you can't do that. You've never done that before. It's like, well, wait a second. But I love people. I get along with people. I have a lot of nice things I can share. So yes, I can. So I want that you all to be aware that in there was massive re-narrating of the stories in my mind in order for me to take advantage of that opportunity, which changed my life. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought that was important.
I love that. I love that you shared that. It's a place to share on both sides. So that's so beautiful. And it's a reminder to myself. And I know if it's impacting me, it's going to impact those who are tuning in and listening to this beautiful conversation. So thank you for sharing that. And it empowers me. It just empowers me beyond belief. The one other thing I really want to talk to you about, because we have only a few seconds left, is this horse journey. My goodness. Now, I'm a gal that loves horses. I had one myself. I worked in therapeutic horseback riding, and that was another thing that really connected us. But you hold such a beautiful space for horses that have been rescued. And I want you to talk a moment just about the Believe Ranch and Rescue, if you can.
Yeah, Believe Ranch and Rescue. Wow, totally unexpected. So also, listeners, your life can flip on a dime and just be open.
That's so true.
If it happens, it's meant to happen. But in 2016, I rescued a horse, and this horse changed me in a matter of weeks. She just showed me a bravery and a courage that I could have never thought could exist inside of me. And she was so incredibly powerful as far as this mentor, this teacher. And one day I thought, what am I rescuing her from? What did I need to rescue her from? And I got online, I watched this video of the horrendous and brutal practice of horse slaughter for human consumption. I'm not going to go there, but it was, I mean, I'm not being dramatic, but I dropped to my knees in my office and was wailing at the top of my lungs at what I saw. And my wife ran in. She thought somebody had died. I pointed at the screen. I made her watch the video, and we looked at each other, and without saying a single word, we knew that our lives were never going to be the same again. We needed to rescue these beautiful, magical animals from this horrific practice. So that day, I created Believe Ranch and Rescue on LegalZoom. And since then, so that's 6 years ago, we've saved 265 horses from slaughter, many of whom go on to heal humans. So I run equine-assisted coaching events nearly every weekend in the nice weather, and the horses are the therapists, and it is the most beautiful work that I have ever witnessed. These horses have changed us. They've taught us about forgiveness. They've taught us about, I talked about my dad, in watching these horses who have been beaten, neglected, scars all over their bodies, starved to death. Within 1 week of us loving on them, being consistent with our kindness and compassion, getting them veterinary care, within 1 week, they forgive humans. And they open themselves up to this beautiful love, this amazing new life. And as human beings, we don't do that. We sometimes hold on to the pain of the people that have hurt us for a lifetime. And the person that hurts the most is you. So I thought, as I'm witnessing these horses, and I thought, my dad, his rejection was a gift. It instilled in me this hunger, this thirst, this determination to take on this impossible dream so that I could show myself what I was made of, that I was worthy, that I was loved, and that being gay was not going to be my demise. It was going to be my superpower. So I called my father after witnessing this beautiful forgiveness, and I said, Dad, you broke my heart, but I forgive you, and I need to forgive myself, because there were many times that he tried to contact me, and I'd hang up the phone, I'd yell and scream at him. I said, I forgive you, and I forgive myself, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being exactly the father I needed you to be to become the woman that I'm really proud to be today. So these horses, think about what they did for me. And if you could see what they do for humans, it's just absolutely extraordinary. And we also have another nonprofit, Horses in Our Hands, that is lobbying in DC to ban this horrific practice once and for all. So we are working heavily, boots on the ground. It's very important to us because it comes full circle. We're saving horses, they're saving humans. And I believe that's my mission here on Earth.
Oh man, so glad that there are angels like you, Rebecca, doing this kind of work. And there are other people out there too. I've witnessed that firsthand, the beauty between the relationship between horses and humans, working in equestrian therapy with kids on the spectrum and seeing how that has changed from being a nonverbal to a verbal in the matter of 14 weeks even, I witnessed. And even in my own life, we rescued our pony when I was 13. It was a rescue from one of those amusement parks where he was living, doing the little thing, circling underneath a big roller coaster. It's that's not a life for any animal. So Thank you for the gift you're doing and continuing to do. And I know we're running out of time. I don't want to keep you, but do you have 2 seconds left to play a little game?
Yes.
2 seconds. Great. So let's do a quick game. And as a reminder, remember, I'm giving away Siri's book. It's going to be a signed autograph copy, but let's do the game with Siri, folks. Those who tune in know this one. It is a little rapid fire. I'm going to throw a word out to you. You're going to come back with the first word that comes to mind. These words are coming from our conversation. So just the first word that comes to mind, Siri, okay?
Yes.
You ready?
Yes.
All right. Failure.
Learning.
Triathlete.
That's that. I was going to go into someone that wants to embark on a journey woman.
Love it. Horse.
Healer.
Thriver.
Blessed.
Gay.
Me.
Healing.
Was that healing?
Healing.
Oh, feeling.
No, healing.
Oh, healing. Healing.
Yeah.
Gift.
Author.
Responsibility.
Okay. One more word I'm going to throw out at you. Forgiveness.
The key.
Yeah. Yeah, girl. That's what I'm talking about. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
I'm so...
You're amazing.
We're amazing.
And I want to have you back on my podcast because I just adore you. And thank you to your listeners for joining us today. I know she's pretty awesome, isn't she? Yeah, I agree. Hilary, I'm talking about you, not me. So Hilary, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're a gift. Thank you. And I gladly accept to come back. And I am so excited to, at some point, we're going to get in the same room. That is for sure. It will happen. I'm putting that out there. I'm manifesting that. And I guess if you have any final words that you'd like to share with listeners.
Just everyone out there, believe in you. You are absolutely perfect just the way that you are. So if you're telling yourself a story otherwise, you're not telling yourself the truth. And it's time to get real and look in the mirror and realize how far you've come, how amazing you are. And let's re-narrate those stories so that they take you everywhere you dream of going, because you deserve that. So please, if you find a way, taking the impossible and making it possible, I know that will help you on this journey. But thank you. Thank you for taking the time and for listening to us. And Hilary, your love, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Love you so much. Now, it is rare that I do a giveaway before a book actually is released, but let me tell you something, my friend. If you're going to put one book in your library to touch, move, and inspire you, this one is it. So I want you to check out the listen notes on how you can get a signed autographed copy of Siri Lindley's book, Finding a Way, Taking the Impossible and Making It Possible, and put it into your hands. And connect with her while you're there. I put all of her social media and all of her information in the podcast notes as well. Now, don't forget, I have a birthday coming up, and I have a wish that I would like you to take part in the next Hilistically Speaking podcast episode. I want to hear from my listeners who are over 50 on the next episode. I want you to tell this gal what the best part about midlife and hitting 50 is. I could really use it. And I know there are others who are hitting 50 out there that could use your sage advice too. So just go to speakpipe.com/hilistically speaking, leave a voice message there, and I will share it on the show. Hilistically Speaking is edited by Two Market Media with music by Lipone Redding and edited by Squadcast. You too, my friend, can find your way. Just take one step at a time and remember to always be kind to your mind. Sending you love and light, and I'll see you next week.